of them say they cannot get out of the city. But I want to bring in the people who are behind the scenes of this conflict. Nigerians helping to provide monies for the welfare of those stuck inside. Daniel Onikwere and Fumi Adeleye Oladejo are co-founders of Diaspora Relief Fund, a collective of members across the Pan-African diaspora deeply concerned with the difficulty experienced by Black people in their attempt to escape war conditions currently unfolding in Ukraine. We'll speak to Danielle first. She's in Dallas, Texas. Danielle, thank you for joining me on the program today, and I really appreciate your taking your time. What's irked your interest, spiked your interest in the situation in Ukraine, and made you think you had to do something about it?
Thank you for having me. What sparked my interest was initially I got on Twitter and there was a space going on, and I joined in on the space to participate and just listen in on on everything that was going on. And the groups that I joined their space spoke about needing volunteers. So when they requested for volunteers, they were like, oh, they had volunteers that they needed people for social media, or they needed people for just anything in general, just to assist. And I volunteered. So from starting with that, I kind of got all involved in it. I spent like 11 hours responding to a group of over like 3,000 people in a chat. And I realized like the need, like people were needing funds, people were needing help evacuating. There was just a huge need of people trying to get out. And I was just like almost like overtaken by the amount of people that needed help. And from there, we just decided, like me and Fumi, we joined together and we're like, okay, let's start up this Diaspora Relief. We started Diaspora Relief. We started essentially wanting to help Nigerians, but then when people started joining our spaces, they were like, well, can you help this nationality? Can you help Ghanaians? Can you help Tanzanians? Can you help South Africans? We told them, like, we are down to help anybody. We just want to help people get out of Ukraine. So that's how we started. And we, got on board. Some people volunteered, joined in, and they were able to help us do the GoFundMe. They were help us get just get started off the ground. So a lot of the people in our group have all been volunteers. I know we saw a video. I think the sparking moment for us was when we saw a video of Black people, particularly Nigerians, trying to get on the bus or get on the train, and they were being pushed off not to get on the train because of racism and stuff. So that's what sparked our interest, and we were like, you know what, let's do this. We had no idea what we were getting into. It's been a lot, but we're in here, we're still sticking it through, and we've been able to help some people so far, so that keeps us going.
And where did you get the most responses from, Danielle? Within Ukraine, where did you have people crying out the most, asking for help?
I would say the most recent was our Sumi crew. Our Sumi group were the people that reached out, and they were just like, we don't want food. We don't want anything. Just get us out of here. And they talked about, there were different reports of like no way in, no way out, bridges being bombed and all these news that we got, that we heard. And then I think when we saw that there was a way out through the Red Cross, the Indian Red Cross were able to bring supplies in, that's when we're like, okay, hold on. How many people are here? Let's try to figure out how many. And I think it was about like maybe 400 and something Nigerian, and majority of them are students, majority of them are minors, and there's no help. There was nobody coming to help them. So when we got the Sumi crew and everybody got all in a chat and we put them all in a chat, that's when we realized like those were the biggest need at the time. But after handling the Sumi situation, now it's moved on to Kherson, which is now the new group. So I think they're finding their ways to reach out to us on social media and let us know like, hey, this is how many people are here. This is how many people that need help. Can you guys assist?
And Fumi joins us now in this conversation. Fumi Adeleye Oladejo. She's in Maryland in the United States. Fumi, great to see you. And just been hearing from Daniela. We've just been hearing from Danielle, the work that both of you have been doing, and, how you're reaching out to people. I wanted to talk about the people in Kherson who haven't heard anything about, evacuations. They're pretty much in a very tight corner. How exactly are you helping them?
So the Kherson group is literally, we just found out about that a few days ago after we pulled the Sumi group out, and then we went on. I think CNN Africa had a space, and I went to speak, and then one of the guys came on there to speak about Kassan. So it wasn't getting media attention. So what we're planning now is just strategy. The same strategy we used with Sumi is to try and see how we can negotiate green corridors with the Red Cross and also with the government of Ukraine. Just keep putting them in the media, because what helped Sumi was a lot of media attention. We kept asking them to do videos, post it out. We were in contact with the student union leaders. But with this particular situation, it's we have to get them that same noise with the media, so that the media can pick it up, and we can hopefully be there when red, because obviously we can't even take over. We can't be in the conversation. We're not strong enough or powerful enough or connected enough to be in such war negotiations. So the Red Cross literally has to be on it and help us out. And one of the things that me and IJ were talking about before we got on this call was we looked at the map of Kasan, and we found out that it's literally close to the port. So we're now like seeing if we can also give that information to the Red Cross, let them know that maybe they can do like a sea evacuation rather than a land one, if the land one will not work out, because these people are heavily traumatized already.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. On Friday, we spoke to Jerry, who is in Kherson, and he gave us, an insight into the situation there, how it's really blocked off from everywhere else. They're afraid they may not make it through the fighting going on where they are. And yes, you're right, it's close to the port, and that might be an avenue to explore. But what is the most need that you find, with the people there? I know with Sumi, some other groups also helping with relief for people in Ukraine. They were helping out with, pocket monies, monies for groceries and just basic supplies and so on, just to keep them going. Is that also your focus?
Yes, it's a big focus for us to also have raised the funds once they get out, to be able to, because the Red Cross will only put them to safety. They won't literally
Mm-hmm.
get to where they need
Yeah.
to continue life. So they'll just pull them out, and we would need to get them from wherever they pull them to a sane place. So we are already in works of we have a GoFundMe page. We have the Cash App links and other ways that we're trying to raise money to have it, so that when they get out, we can always put them over to Budapest, and then from Budapest try to get them to Germany, depending on, because one of the guys that I spoke with yesterday, his name is Dari, and he's literally trying to give up. And one of the things I told him was just encourage him and prayed with him and told him that all will be well. How that will happen, I don't really know, but I believe, like, we serve a big God, and I know that there's nothing God cannot do. So once they get out, we are working so hard to make sure that all they need to transition is available. So with the Sumi students, we give them the option of going back to Nigeria or just staying and allowing us to figure out the next course of action for them. And what we've been able to negotiate is schools in Germany, schools in I just got off another call not too long ago with somebody in Budapest that is saying she's ready to be a counselor to help them begin to process the ones that have stayed back into schools in Budapest, and also work on scholarships for them, so they don't have to pay so much out of pocket, and also try and get the school fees down to the same value with what they were paying in Ukraine, because Budapest is more expensive than Ukraine. So this is one of the
For
things
me,
that will be.
we'd love. For me, sorry to interrupt, but we'd love to hear more about what you're saying. We need to go on a break now. When we come back, our conversation continues with you and with Danielle on this work that you're doing with Nigerians and Africans and those who need help getting out of Ukraine. Do stay with us, ladies, and stay with us, our viewers. Welcome back to the program. Our focus on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Conflict, as some people prefer to call it. Two young ladies are doing great work in Ukraine from far, far away in the United States. Danielle Onyekwere and Fumi Adeleye Oladejo are both co-founders of Diaspora Relief, GoFundMe, that's raising funds for Nigerians and other Africans who are stuck in Ukraine trying to get out. Fumi, before the break, you were telling me about the support you're providing to some of these people who are there in some of these volatile cities. And you mentioned trying to help them to resettle in schools around outside of Ukraine, possibly Poland and Germany, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So we Greg is unfortunately not here, but Greg has been working with a great ally in Germany, and we have close to 200. We had 300 spaces initially, but we've filled it up with 100 people already in Germany that they've taken in, and they're going to let them stay there for a while, like decide if they want to be in Germany. And what they will do is after they spend that first month of testing the waters, if they like Germany, then they will be able to process them into I think first step is the immigration documents, and then also getting them into school, and also trying to get what's it called, scholarship for them to go to school in Germany to continue. So it's a lot of work behind the scene. We have a great team that is focusing on resettling these students back into school in the European Union, because this majority of these students are medical doctors, and from what I know, 20% of the NIH is Black doctors, and these kids, I mean, these doctors go to school in Ukraine because it's just cheaper and it's more affordable, and the system there is very good. So even if the world refuses to sleep on this, there will be a backlash in the coming years when we're already suffering with shortages of doctors. So in the coming years, without these doctors able to finish their education, there will really be a big problem. So that's why we decided to not only think about getting them out of Ukraine, but also giving them the chance to helping, link them with opportunities to complete their education.
Yeah. Danielle, is there at any point at which you're liaising with the parents or the wards, of these students to make these decisions about resettlement and, where they continue their education?
Right, absolutely. We also had a meeting today where we talked about we can't make these decisions without the parents, right? Essentially, these are minors that we're dealing with. So we do talk to the parents. We kind of let them know a lot of them have fears. They want their kids to come back to Nigeria, but we kind of had to almost like reestablish that confidence and reestablish that trust to let them know that, hey, we got you, like we have you all the way. So they have questions that they want to know, like, oh, where are they going to be? Are they going to be okay? Are they going to have food? What about their papers? All those things. So we answer those questions for them. So we are in contact with majority of the parents, and then the ones that we're not, we're trying to get in contact with them by this weekend, because some of the kids in Sumi are set to move out to Germany by next week. So we don't make the decisions for them. We kind of talk to the parents, figure out where their heads is at, answer all the questions that they have, and then we let them ultimately make the decision. And then once they make the decision, we go from there.
I'm wondering, how, you guys are reacting to some of the stories coming out of Kherson. For example, one of the Nigerian students who's there, Jerry, just sent us a video about a missile that apparently dropped close enough to them. You see the thing explode. You see, everything that's going on and all of that. And then we hear from the Nigerian government, the Nigeria Diaspora Commission, to be exact, that, there will be evacuations starting tomorrow from Kherson. I don't know if you're also privy to information like that.
As of the moment, no, we haven't heard anything, and the students that we've spoken to, we haven't heard anything either. So if there's an evacuation going on, that would be great. That would be great, because this morning I actually spoke to one of the students, Victor. We had a long conversation, and we were trying to look at the map and figure out a way out and figure out a way around, and trying to find out more information about possible evacuation attempts that have been made. And to us, I won't even, to be very sincere with you, it is very frustrating, especially when you're from here trying to coordinate a place you've never been. So I ended up having a headache after the first call today, trying to figure out, okay, can we go through here? Nope, we can't. Can we go through here? No, we can't. Can we go through here? No, we can't. Like looking at the map and breaking it down. So we work with them, when it comes to the evacuation plan, because for example, the Sumy situation, they got taken from the Red Cross from Sumy to Poltava. And then we had to figure out an evacuation plan from Poltava to Budapest. So this is also what we do. We kind of coordinate a route with them from wherever they are or wherever they get dropped off all the way through. So if there's an evacuation possible, that's great news. That, I mean, I can't wait to hear more information about that. And then we just take it on from there. We go for wherever the Red Cross stops, and then we continue on further to safety. So I mean, it's personally, it's been a lot. We've had a lot of tears. We've had a lot of headaches. We've had a lot of cries, a lot of yelling, but we're trying to hang in here because, I mean, if we're in the situation, I would hope somebody on the other side would be fighting this much for me as well.
And this next question is for both of you. You know, I know you both have spoken to Victor this morning. We were supposed to have him on the program as well, but the connection, I guess, where he is a bit spotty, so he couldn't join us. What has he told you about, you know, welfare and, you know, how they're able to have access to supplies and, you know, groceries and stuff like that?
You want to answer that or me?
It's fine. So,
okay, for me.
Yeah.
So, nothing. When we spoke to him 2 days ago, he said they were cooking with firewood because there was no light. There was nothing. And as of today, they've depleted a majority of their food supply is like literally low. And they're just waiting for help. Like they just want to get out. Imagine you cooking with firewood in 2022 in a foreign country, and trying to keep warm, trying to gather up and stay warm. So majority of their supplies are running low, and that's one of my major concerns is if there's an evacuation plan or if there's a way we can even get supplies through to them, we can all know that, you know, we can take a pause and reassess the situation and hopefully something will happen. So this is like a cry out to who can get them resources, because there's water, there's a port there, but they're not letting food come through, and
Yeah,
they
they're
have
go in or out.
in and out. So they have very little resources left, and it's triggering them. It's increasing their trauma levels as we speak.
What are they eating anyway?
Ukrainian.
Yeah, Ukrainian food. I think I had one of them tell me they were like their stomach hurts because they're not used to this kind of food. But the major problem too is Kherson is more difficult than Sumy was. Sumy was a lot easier because it was all dorms and they were close to each other. But Kherson's situation is there's outside villages and they can't get to each other. So people in certain villages aren't able to get to Kherson city itself because the Russian military isn't letting them. So when it comes to an evacuation attempt, it's kind of more difficult because it's like, how do we get all these people all in one spot so we can evacuate them all at once, especially when they're not being let through? So, I mean, I don't know how, I don't see how we can be able to accomplish this by ourselves. We definitely need the Nigerian government on board. We need Red Cross on board. We need everybody on board. And in this situation, it's not only, particularly Sumy was majority Nigerians, but now we're dealing with Arabians as well. So we have people from Egypt, people from Yemen, people from Syria, people from Morocco, everywhere that we're trying to help. So it's a lot more difficult because it's a lot of different government bodies that's going to be attached to this one task.
So you both, you know, established this GoFundMe. How do the funds get to the people in Kherson?
So we have a disbursement person. So we've been working with Doni from the beginning. Doni is in Poland. She's a student in Poland. And so when this whole stuff started in February, towards the end, Doni was on board. So we would send the money to Doni, and Doni would, through her Wise account. So IJ is in charge of finance. So IJ will get the money from, we've not even been able to touch the GoFundMe yet because we have some kind of bureaucracy going on with that. But we're collecting money with Cash App and with Zelle. So once we get the money, IJ transfers it to the Wise account. And from the Wise account, she transfers it to Doni's Wise. And Doni is able to transfer it to the people in Ukraine, the people in Sumy, like literally anywhere. Because we had people in Poland in their accommodation, we would pay for that. So once we get cursing people out, getting funds into their hands, it's done, it's sorted, it's like ready to go.
Ladies, thank you so much for speaking with me, and great job you're both doing. We are praying for those in Kherson, just as we did with for those in Sumi. We're praying that everyone gets out, and we do hope this information we're getting about the evacuation starting there really is true, and that they actually get to safety as quickly as possible. Thank you again, Danielle. Thank you,
Thank
Fumi,
you.
and thank you to the millions who are working behind the scenes. And we know that at this point only God can reward you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All hands are on deck to help those trapped and also those who have been able to escape the conflict. Volunteer doctors and psychiatrists are helping displaced Ukrainians, mainly women and children, who are arriving at the city's central station. The people arriving at the station have fled areas of active conflict and bombardment and have had to leave other members of their family behind. For most, their final destination has been Poland. Meanwhile, Poland's President Andrzej Duda says the use of chemical weapons in Ukraine by Russia would be a game changer, and NATO would have to think seriously about how to respond. Asked if the use of chemical weapons by Putin will be a red line for NATO, at which point it has to get involved, Duda says if he uses any weapons of mass destruction, and this will be a game changer in the whole thing. He also said Poland is not transferring fighter jets to Ukraine despite President Volodymyr Zelensky's demands, and that NATO would not enforce a no-fly zone over Ukraine, as it could result in an opening, possibly, of a third world war due to the potential direct confrontation between NATO and Russia, adding that Poland could end up welcoming around 2.5 million refugees if the situation worsens. Staying with more international relief funds, the United Nations Population Fund says invasion of Ukraine by Russia is tearing families apart. Over 2.1 million Ukrainians have now fled to neighboring countries, just half families moving. As the war enters into third week, more than 278,000 Ukrainian citizens have crossed the border into the Republic of Moldova, and almost 100,000 remain in the country, which has its own socio-economic challenges and now hosts the largest number of Ukrainian refugees per capita. UNFPA Executive Director Dr. Natalia Kanem met with Ukrainian women and girls at the Manes Stadium and Mold Expo Center